Alright, so we're back with part 2 of Farmers and Populism, and I use a Susan B. Anthony quote of organize, educate, and agitate. Now, agitate means to get on people's nerves. So the farmers are going to start doing something about the fact that the government's not helping them out. They're going to educate themselves, they're going to organize themselves, and they're going to agitate. So we're going to see how that works out here in a second. Now, the first thing is the farmers are going to form granges, or farmers' alliances. Now, a grange, an easy way to maybe remember that, is the Spanish word for a farm is a granja, and the grange is the Latin. So these grangers are farmers. They're forming groups, and they're beginning to get organized. Okay. Then we have another major court case, and that is, can the U.S. government, can states, better yet, regulate railroads? And so we have Munn versus Illinois. Now, in Munn versus Illinois, they said that states could actually regulate certain businesses, including railroads, within their borders. Now, this did not allow for regulation that crossed state boundaries. So Illinois could only regulate the railroads within their state and thereby help out the farmers. This is the first time the Supreme Court ruled for a Granger law and said you could do it. Now, Munn, you may do it. Now, in a minute, we're going to talk about when they go back and why that exists and all these different things. So we're going to get there, so relax. Then the U.S. government is going to pass the Interstate Commerce Act to set up the Interstate Commerce Commission. Why? You could only regulate stuff in the states, right? This institution will regulate anything going between the states. Now, does it exist today? In some form or fashion, kind of. If you've ever seen the weigh stations, or maybe the one outside of Nesbitt where you get your driver's license, if they're open, they check the weight of the truck and of the freight and to make sure it's not going to be too dangerous. And so this is our first attempt at that. Now, what happens next? Because they are regulating the railroads, there's a period of inflation. Now, why is that? If you give people more money, the products and services are going to go up. Just like people at McDonald's wanted $15 an hour. Well, if you get your $15 an hour, Skippy, that means gas prices go up, milk goes up, everything you need to survive. So, are you making any more money by making higher wages? Answer is no. So we have to be careful how we do that, all right? So they're regulating the railroads thinking they're getting high wages, but they actually cause a period of inflation, which turns the government against the farmers. And they said, okay, we have to look elsewhere. Now, why does this exist? The farmers have said, okay, to fix the inflation and to fix all these things, and maybe make the inflation slightly worse, we want to increase our money supply. Now, our money supply is what we call the gold standard. Now, the gold standard means that all of our paper money is backed up by gold. Now, that said, I mean, there's speculation, it's not there or not, but Fort Knox is where you keep all the gold bars. So the gold standard is the idea that gold is the monetary that we're going to back our money on. Now, why did we do this? Early on, there had been silver coins produced. However, in the late 1800s, they decided, okay, we only want it to be gold. So you take money out of circulation, people have less money, things are more valuable, etc. Now, the farmers got a hold of this and said, whoa, whoa, whoa. You mean there's another coin we can have for money? Well, we want that, because if I have more money, I can pay back my debts. Yes, we might have an inflated society, but I can get out of debt, keep my farm, and keep working. I like it. Okay? So, the Bland-Allison Act will be passed. This was enacted in response to the crime of 1873, which demonetized silver. This said you could recoin silver. Now, this is an important thing because the farmers feel like they're getting somewhere with this. They're not quite where they want to be yet, but they did allow. Now, naturally, not a lot of silver is produced. Why? Because the industrialists are kind of wanting to make sure they're making as much money as possible. Okay? So the farmers decide if the government's not going to help us, we're going to make our own political party. Now, we talked about the bipartisan party, right? This is the birth of what we call a third party. Um, Now, third parties come up a lot in the 2016 election, especially libertarian candidates like Governor Gary Johnson and people like that, who are out of the typical mold of Republicans and Democrats, Reds and Blues, Capulets and Montagues, whatever. Okay? So the Populist Party was called the People's Party, and it was made up of farmers, working people, people who wanted to do quite a few things, all right? Now, 1892, we have someone running, and that's not necessarily a big deal per se, but I want to talk about Mary Lease, because Mary Lease gave us one of the all-time greatest quotes of all time. While she's at a populist rally, she says, we need to, you can see it there, raise less corn and more hell. Yes, but the whole idea behind that is we're gonna stop doing what they want us to do, and we're gonna start agitating them until we get what we want. Now, what she wanted in Kansas is she wanted the mortgages to go down, the interest to go down, and the railroad rates to go down. Okay. So, what does Congress do with this? You have a lot of people upset, and so they kind of shrink. I don't want to deal with these people. Okay. So they're going to pass what is slangily known as the economic deal with the devil. Now, why is it called that? If the devil says, I'm going to make you a rich man, and there was a movie called Bedazzled with Brendan Fraser and Elizabeth Hurley, and he went through different things he wanted. So they said, I'm going to make you a rich man, but he turned out to be a Colombian drug lord, and all these different things. And so it basically means I'm going to give you what you want, but you have to deal with the consequences that you can't see, and you have to live with them. Tough. So the two parts of the economic deal with the devil was the Sherman Silver Purchase Act and the McKinley Tariff. Sherman Silver Purchase Act, exactly what it sounds like, allowed them to purchase silver to produce more money to give to the farmers. McKinley Tariff. Now, a tariff is a tax on foreign goods. We'll get that in a minute. But the whole idea of the McKinley Tariff was to bring it to a very high rate, so there would be no competition, and you would have to buy American products. But what if you don't have any money? If you don't have any money, you can't buy a squat. So that was the economic deal with the devil, and that leads us into something going on much, much later on. All right? That was it for number 2.